I overheard my wife tell her friend, "After the move, I'll claim he's an unsafe father and take full custody. He won't stand a chance." I stayed silent, just saved the entire conversation, and called my lawyer. When her own words were played during the custody hearing, I, 32 male, stood frozen outside our bedroom door, my hand hovering over the handle. Inside, my wife Amanda's voice drifted through the crack, casual and light, talking to her best friend Rachel on speaker. I had come upstairs to grab my phone charger. What I heard next made my blood turn cold. "Once we're settled in Oregon, I'll file the paperwork," Amanda said. "I've already talked to a lawyer there. They said if I claim he's emotionally abusive and unsafe around the kids, I can get an emergency custody order. Michael won't even see it coming." Rachel's voice crackled through the phone. "But is he actually unsafe?" Amanda laughed. "Of course not. But who cares? I'll say he yells at them. That I'm afraid. I'll cry in front of the judge. They always believe the mother. By the time he figures out what's happening, I'll be 3 states away with full custody. He won't stand a chance." My heart hammered against my ribs. I pressed myself against the hallway wall, my phone already in my pocket. My fingers found the voice recorder app. I tapped it. The red dot appeared. Recording. "What about the kids?" Rachel asked. "Won't they miss him?" "They'll adjust," Amanda said, her voice flat and practical. "Look, Michael's a decent father. I'll give him that. But I need a fresh start. My sister's in Portland. There are better job opportunities, and honestly, I'm tired of co-parenting. This way, I get full control. No more negotiating about schools or schedules. No more splitting holidays. I'll let him have supervised visits maybe twice a year if the court makes me." "That seems harsh," Rachel said quietly. "It's strategic," Amanda corrected. "My lawyer said judges in Oregon are very protective of mothers, especially if there's any hint of danger. I just need to sell it. A few tears, some carefully worded statements, maybe a police report about a loud argument. It's not illegal to exaggerate. And once I have that emergency order, it's almost impossible to reverse." I stood there for 20 minutes. I recorded every word. Amanda talked about her timeline. The move was planned for 6 weeks from now. She had already secured an apartment in Portland. She had spoken to her lawyer twice. She had researched custody laws. She had even practiced her testimony. When the call ended, I walked downstairs on numb legs. I sat at the kitchen table. My hands shook as I saved the recording to 3 different locations: my phone, the cloud, and an external drive I kept in my office. Then I opened my laptop and searched for the best family law attorney in our city. By morning, I had an appointment scheduled for the next day. I spent the following weeks acting normal. I played with our kids, 7-year-old Emma and 5-year-old Jake, the same as always. I took them to school, helped with homework, made their favorite dinners. I kissed Amanda goodnight. I asked about her day. I smiled when she talked about her sister in Oregon. Inside, I was building a case. My attorney, a sharp woman named Catherine Chen, listened to the recording twice. Her face remained carefully neutral, but her eyes hardened. "This is gold," she said finally. "She's admitting to planning false allegations. That's parental alienation, perjury if she follows through, and shows clear bad faith. We can use this." "What do I do?" I asked. "Nothing," Catherine said. "Let her make the first move. Let her file in Oregon if that's her plan. But we'll be ready. We'll file for emergency custody here the moment she tries to leave. We'll present this recording, and we'll make sure the judge understands exactly what kind of manipulation she's attempting." "Is the recording legal?" I asked. "I recorded her without permission." Catherine nodded. "You're in a one-party consent state. As long as one person in the conversation knows it's being recorded, it's legal. You were in your own home. You're covered." Over the next 4 weeks, I documented everything. I kept a log of every moment I spent with the kids. I saved every text message Amanda sent. I took photos of the kids' rooms, their artwork on the fridge, the family calendar with my handwriting marking their activities. I asked their teachers for written statements about my involvement. I collected proof. Amanda grew more distant. She spent evenings on her laptop, her face lit by the glow of apartment listings and legal websites. She stopped asking about my day. She stopped kissing me goodnight. She was already gone in every way that mattered. I felt like I was living with a stranger who was plotting to destroy me. 3 days before her planned move, Amanda made her mistake. She told me she was taking the kids to visit her sister for a week. Just a short trip, she said. They'd be back before school started again. I knew she wasn't coming back. That night I called Catherine. She's leaving Friday morning, I said. She told me it's just a visit, but I know she's not returning. Then we move first, Catherine said. I'm filing for emergency custody Wednesday morning. We'll present the recording and request a hearing immediately. The court will issue a temporary order preventing her from leaving the state with the children until the matter's resolved. Wednesday arrived. I took the kids to school like normal. I kissed them goodbye. I told them I loved them. Then I drove to the courthouse. Catherine filed the paperwork at 9 in the morning. By noon, a judge had reviewed the recording and issued an emergency order. By 3 in the afternoon, a process server delivered it to Amanda at our home. She called me 17 times. I didn't answer. I let Catherine handle it. That evening, I came home to find Amanda in the living room. The legal papers scattered on the coffee table. Her face was pale. Her eyes were red. "You recorded me?" she said. Her voice shook. "I protected our children," I said calmly. "That was a private conversation," she hissed. "You had no right." "I had every right," I said. "It was in our home, and you were planning to lie to a judge and steal my children. Did you think I just let that happen?" She stood up, her hands shaking. "You don't understand. I need this. I need a fresh start. I can't do this anymore." "Then leave," I said. "But you're not taking Emma and Jake. You're not going to lie about me. You're not going to destroy their relationship with their father because you want convenience." The custody hearing was scheduled for 2 weeks later. During that time, Amanda stayed at her mother's house. I kept the kids. The temporary order gave me physical custody until the hearing. Amanda got supervised visits 3 times a week at a neutral location. She showed up to the first visit with her lawyer, a slick man in an expensive suit who looked annoyed to be there. She hugged Emma and Jake. She cried. She told them everything would be okay soon. Jake asked me that night why Mommy was sad. I told him grown-up things were complicated, but that I loved him and his sister more than anything in the world. The hearing arrived on a cold Tuesday morning. Amanda wore a navy dress and pearl earrings. She looked composed and sympathetic. Her lawyer had clearly coached her well. She testified first. She claimed I had anger issues. She said I yelled at the children. She said she felt afraid in her own home. She cried twice. She said she only wanted to protect Emma and Jake from my volatile behavior. Her lawyer painted me as controlling and intimidating. He referenced one argument Amanda and I had 6 months ago when I raised my voice about a credit card bill. He twisted it into a pattern of emotional abuse. I sat quietly next to Catherine. I watched Amanda lie. I watched her performance. I felt nothing but cold determination. Then Catherine stood up for cross-examination. "Mrs. Lawson," Catherine said, her voice polite and calm, "you testified that you fear for your children's safety around your husband, correct?" "Yes," Amanda said. "And you're requesting full custody and relocation to Oregon because of these safety concerns?" "Yes," Amanda repeated. Catherine walked to her table and picked up a tablet. "Your Honor, I'd like to play an audio recording for the court. This recording was made legally by my client in his own home. It captures a phone conversation between Mrs. Lawson and her friend Rachel Martinez on the evening of March 14th. The judge nodded. "Proceed." Catherine pressed play. Amanda's voice filled the courtroom, clear and casual and damning. "Once we're settled in Oregon, I'll file the paperwork. I've already talked to a lawyer there. They said if I claim he's emotionally abusive and unsafe around the kids, I can get an emergency custody order. Michael won't even see it coming." The color drained from Amanda's face. Her lawyer's head snapped toward her, his expression frozen in shock. The recording continued. Amanda's laugh echoed through the speakers. "Of course not. But who cares? I'll say he yells at them, that I'm afraid. I'll cry in front of the judge. They always believe the mother." The judge's face hardened. Her pen stopped moving. She leaned forward, her eyes fixed on Amanda. "They'll adjust." Amanda's recorded voice continued. "Michael's a decent father. I'll give him that. But I need a fresh start. This way I get full control. No more negotiating about schools or schedules. I'll let him have supervised visits maybe twice a year if the court makes me." Catherine let the recording play for another minute. Amanda's plan, laid out in her own words. Her admission that I was a good father, her calculated manipulation of the system, her complete lack of concern for what this would do to our children. When the recording ended, the courtroom was silent. The judge looked at Amanda. "Mrs. Lawson, do you dispute the authenticity of this recording?" Amanda's mouth opened. No sound came out. Her lawyer leaned over and whispered something urgent in her ear. "No, Your Honor," Amanda finally said, her voice barely a whisper. "Did you make these statements?" the judge asked. "Yes," Amanda said. A tear rolled down her cheek. "But I didn't mean it. I was just venting. I was upset." "You discussed specific legal strategies with an attorney in Oregon," the judge said, her tone flat. "You researched custody laws. You made plans to file false allegations. This doesn't sound like venting, Mrs. Lawson. This sounds like premeditation." Amanda's lawyer tried to salvage the situation. He argued that Amanda had been under stress, that she had never actually filed false allegations, that the recording was taken out of context. Catherine dismantled every argument. She presented the timeline. She showed that Amanda had contacted the Oregon attorney twice. She produced evidence that Amanda had secured an apartment and enrolled the children in a Portland school without my knowledge. She demonstrated that Amanda's entire testimony today was the exact lie she had described in the recording. The judge called a brief recess. When we returned, her decision was swift. "Based on the evidence presented, I find that Mrs. Lawson has demonstrated a willingness to make false allegations and manipulate these proceedings for personal gain," the judge said. "Her testimony today has been proven to be fabricated. Her plan to alienate the children from their father is deeply concerning and not in the children's best interests." Amanda's face crumpled. Her lawyer put a hand on her arm. "I am granting Mr. Lawson primary physical custody," the judge continued. "Mrs. Lawson will have supervised visitation every other weekend until such time as she can demonstrate to this court that she understands the seriousness of her actions and is committed to co-parenting in good faith. I am also ordering a custody evaluation by a court-appointed psychologist. If Mrs. Lawson attempts to relocate with the children or violates this order in any way, I will hold her in contempt." The gavel came down. Amanda stood up, her movements jerky and uncoordinated. She looked at me across the courtroom. Her eyes were hollow. She walked out without a word. Her lawyer followed her, his briefcase clutched tight, his expensive suit suddenly looking rumpled. Catherine shook my hand. "You did the right thing," she said. "You protected your kids." I drove home in a daze. I picked up Emma and Jake from my sister's house, where they had been staying during the hearing. I held them tight. I made them grilled cheese sandwiches. I read them bedtime stories. I tucked them in and kissed their foreheads. That night, I sat alone in the living room. My phone buzzed. A text from Amanda's mother. "I'm ashamed of what she tried to do. Those children are lucky to have you." Another text came an hour later, this one from Rachel, Amanda's friend from the recording. "I told her not to do it. I told her it was wrong. I'm sorry I didn't stop her." Over the next week, the fallout spread. Amanda's family distanced themselves. Her father called to apologize. Her sister in Portland, who had been part of the plan, sent a short email saying she hadn't known the full story. Amanda herself went silent. She didn't show up for her first supervised visit. Her lawyer withdrew from her case. She moved into a small apartment downtown, alone. I heard through mutual friends that she had lost her job. Her employer had somehow learned about the custody case, about her attempt to make false allegations. They had quietly let her go during a restructuring. She tried to see the kids twice more, both times at the supervised visitation center. Emma cried and clung to me. Jake asked why Mommy looked so sad. The supervisor noted that Amanda spent most of the visits on her phone, distracted and disconnected. After the third visit, she stopped coming. The court-appointed psychologist completed her evaluation 6 weeks later. Her report was damning. She noted Amanda's lack of insight, her inability to take responsibility, her continued belief that she had been justified in her actions. She recommended that my primary custody continue and that Amanda complete a parenting course before unsupervised visits could resume. Amanda never completed the course. 3 months after the hearing, I received an email from her lawyer's office. Amanda was relinquishing her parental rights. She no longer wanted to pursue custody or visitation. She was moving to Oregon alone. She would pay child support as ordered by the court, but she wanted no further contact with the children. I read the email 3 times. I felt a strange mix of relief and sadness. Relief that the battle was over, that I didn't have to keep fighting. Sadness that my children's mother had chosen to walk away rather than face what she had done. I saved the email in the same folder as the recording. Evidence. Proof. A record of how badly someone could betray the people they were supposed to love. Emma asked about her mother less and less as the weeks passed. Jake stopped mentioning her at all. They adjusted, just like Amanda had predicted they would. But they adjusted to her absence, not mine. I took them to therapy. I made sure they knew their mother's choices weren't their fault. I answered their questions honestly but gently. I built a life where they felt safe and loved and secure. 6 months later, I ran into Rachel at a coffee shop. She looked uncomfortable when she saw me. "I'm sorry," she said quietly. "I should have told you what she was planning. I should have warned you." "You could have," I agreed, "but you didn't. You chose to protect her instead of doing what was right." She nodded, tears in her eyes. "I know. I've lost sleep over it. Those kids deserve better." "They have better now," I said. A year after the hearing, I received a letter from Amanda. It was short and stilted, written in her careful handwriting. She said she was sorry. She said she had been selfish and wrong. She said she hoped someday the kids would forgive her. She didn't ask to see them. She didn't ask for another chance. She just apologized and said goodbye. I filed the letter away with everything else. Evidence of a life we used to have, a family that used to exist. Emma and Jake thrived. Emma joined the soccer team. Jake learned to ride a bike. They made friends. They laughed at dinner. They felt safe in their own home, something they hadn't felt in the months before Amanda left. I started dating again eventually, though I took it slow. I introduced the kids to Sarah, a kind teacher I met at a school fundraiser, only after we had been seeing each other for 6 months. She was patient and understanding. She never tried to replace Amanda. She just became part of our lives, steady and warm. The kids called her Miss Sarah. They liked her. I thought about Amanda sometimes late at night when the house was quiet. I wondered if she ever regretted what she had done. I wondered if she missed Emma and Jake. I wondered if she thought about the recording, about her own voice echoing through that courtroom, destroying the life she had tried to steal. Mostly I felt grateful. Grateful that I had been in the hallway that night. Grateful that I had pressed record. Grateful that I had protected my children from a plan that would have ripped them away from a parent who loved them. I kept the recording. I kept all of it. Not because I wanted to relive those moments, but because I wanted to remember. I wanted to remember that sometimes the worst betrayals come from the people you trust most. I wanted to remember that staying silent can be the smartest move you make. I wanted to remember that proof matters more than accusations. And I wanted Emma and Jake to know, when they were old enough to understand, that their father had fought for them, not with anger or violence, not with lies or manipulation, but with evidence, with patience, with the cold, hard truth recorded in their mother's own words. 2 years after the hearing, I stood in the kitchen making pancakes on a Saturday morning. Emma set the table. Jake poured orange juice carefully into 3 glasses. Sarah sat at the counter, reading the newspaper and smiling at the chaos. My phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. I opened it. "I saw on Facebook that you're happy. I'm glad. The kids look good. Tell them I'm sorry. Amanda." I stared at the message for a long moment. Then I deleted it. I turned off my phone. I flipped the pancakes. I listened to my children laugh. That was my answer. That was my closure. This life, these moments, this family we had built from the wreckage. That was enough. I had won not because I had destroyed Amanda, but because I had saved Emma and Jake from being used as weapons in someone else's selfish plan. I had won because they were here, safe and loved, eating pancakes on a Saturday morning without fear. And that recording, sitting silently in my files, had made all of it possible. One decision to press record, one decision to stay calm, one decision to trust the truth. In the end, Amanda's own words had been her undoing, and my silence had been my greatest strength.